There's something surreal about watching the woman you love walk out the door every morning in heels that aren't for you. I used to be proud of her stride, that confident, efficient rhythm of a woman who owned her path. A wife I bragged about, smart, successful, razor-sharp with a dry sense of humor that matched mine beat for beat. We were a good team. Or so I thought. You don't question the clock when it keeps ticking, until it doesn't. Every morning, she'd leave with a kiss and a latte. Don't wait up, she'd say on Wednesdays, her late night at the office. I didn't. Not at first. Because why would I? Ashley worked hard. Senior marketing consultant at Lexington & Moore. I'd met her when she was still grinding out 80-hour weeks for half her current salary. I respected her hustle. I knew the game. But lately, something started to itch. It was her smile. That damn Wednesday smile. The other days, she kissed me goodbye with a sleepy murmur, maybe a mumbled joke. But Wednesdays? She left like she was stepping onto a runway. Hair curled. Lipstick brighter. Perfume a touch heavier. And that smile. That knowing, secret-laden curve that didn't belong in a marriage. You ever see someone you love smile like they're thinking of someone else? Yeah, that. At first, I chalked it up to confidence. Maybe she landed a big account. Maybe the midweek routine finally clicked. Or maybe I was losing my mind in silence, working remote, fixing the damn sink again, and arguing with the dog about whose spot the couch was. Still, I let it go. Because that's what you do when you don't want to see the truth. You let it go. You convince yourself she's tired. That the Wednesday sin in her hair is just office air freshener. That the lace tucked into the laundry was a just because gift to herself, not bait for someone else. But then came the chair. You see, I'm a simple guy. Not a spy. Not a genius. But even I noticed that during Ashley's late nights, her chair at the office stayed empty. It wasn't a big thing at first. Just an offhand comment from her colleague, Taylor, when I dropped off her charger one night. Oh well, thanks, Logan. Haven't seen Ish all week. I blinked. Did she work from home? Taylor shook her head. I don't think so. I figured she was out of town. She hasn't been at any of our team meetings. That's when the itch turned into a burn. Out of town? Ashley told me she was running a new client campaign here in the city. Working late, neck deep in deadlines. She said the team was overloaded. She said a lot of things. And so began the unraveling. I didn't ask her that night. I watched her come home, toss her heels aside like a scene from a movie, slip into pajamas, and fall asleep like nothing was eating me alive inside. And maybe, just maybe, I hoped it was all a misunderstanding. Spoiler, it wasn't. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I wanted to see it myself. And what I saw the following Wednesday, well, that was the moment Logan James stopped being a husband and started becoming something else entirely. The next Wednesday, I played dumb. Poured her coffee. Kissed her forehead. Watched her walk out the door like she was heading off to war, confident and composed. Lipstick perfect. Liar perfect. Big meeting today? I asked casually, watching her sling that leather bag over her shoulder. Yeah, she said, sipping her drink. Might run late. We've got strategy reviews. Take your time, I said, smiling like a man who didn't already know. Once the door clicked shut, I stood still. I didn't go to work that day. Technically, I was remote. Technically, I had meetings. But those meetings were with myself, and the agenda was simple: follow Ashley. I parked down the street from her supposed office, a dull, corporate glass box where ambition goes to die. She usually parked in the underground garage, so I waited. 40 minutes passed. No sign of her. Not at the office. Not anywhere nearby. The garage was emptier than my gut. I circled the building once, then again. Still nothing. At noon, I caved and walked in. Lobby receptionist looked up with a practiced smile. Hi there. Looking for someone? Ashley James, I said, friendly, calm, like I wasn't fighting the urge to rip something open. She's in marketing. The receptionist tilted her head, clicked a few times. She's not in today. Has she been in this week? I asked. She paused. I'm not really supposed to it. I leaned in, lowered my voice. I'm her husband. Just checking in. The woman hesitated. I honestly haven't seen her in over a week. I thanked her and left before my face gave away what my fists were screaming. On the drive back, my mind raced. Ashley had clocked out of work, mentally and physically. She had an entire routine she was performing for me. Hair, makeup, fake commutes. She was playing house in the morning and something else entirely after. I got home, poured myself a drink, sat at the dining room table, staring at the walls like they might confess something. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She'd left it behind. Rookie mistake. I walked over slowly. Locked? Of course. But she wasn't tech-savvy. Never changed her PIN. Still the anniversary date, 1014. It opened. And just like that, the curtains were pulled back. A notification from Kay. A message that read, "Can't wait to see you tonight." Same room. Room. Not dinner. Not plans. A room. I didn't throw the phone. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. I just stood there, nodding to myself like I was watching the final scene of a movie where the twist makes everything else click into place. Ashley wasn't late at work. Ashley was somewhere else entirely. And next Wednesday? I was going to find out where. Wednesday came again like clockwork. And for the first time in our marriage, I woke up hoping my wife would lie to me. She didn't disappoint. "Don't wait up," she said, brushing a rogue curl behind her ear. "The campaign's a mess. Could be late." "Got it," I said, barely glancing up from my coffee. "Hope the team appreciates the overtime." She smiled. That smile again. Like she was in on a joke I hadn't been invited to. But this time, I followed her. I stayed 3 cars behind, careful on the turns, windows cracked just enough to catch the breeze and keep my hands from shaking. She wasn't headed toward the city, or her office, or even anywhere a campaign might happen. Instead, she pulled off the freeway at exit 9. Industrial zone. A place you'd miss unless you were trying not to be seen. 5 minutes later, her car turned into the parking lot of a mid-tier hotel, the kind that's just clean enough to not be a scandal, but cheap enough for someone trying to keep secrets. The sign out front read, Windmere Suites. A name that sounds like it's trying too hard to be classy. I parked across the street behind a pharmacy, pretending to scroll my phone while I watched her step out of the car. She was wearing flats now. Smart. Can't have sore feet when you're busy betraying people. She walked in like she'd done it 100 times. Didn't even glance back. I waited 10 minutes. Maybe 12. Then I walked in, hoodie up, sunglasses on, pretending to be a guy just grabbing a room. The lobby was dim and smelled faintly of fake citrus and lost dignity. The receptionist didn't look up from her screen. "Hey," I said, casually leaning on the desk. "I'm meeting someone here." She checked in about 10 minutes ago. Blonde. Mid-30s. Probably under the name Ashley or... The woman barely blinked. Room 214. Back left corner. Not my business. Apparently, this was a place where people came to make mistakes quietly. I walked back out instead of up. I wasn't going to knock on any doors. I didn't want to see it. I just wanted confirmation. And now I had it. Room 214. Windmere Suites. That was her office now. I sat in my car, hands on the wheel. I was locked on that number above the door like it had personally insulted me. You know the worst part? I wasn't surprised. It didn't hit like a bomb. It landed soft. Like it had been waiting. I just nodded to myself. Of course. Of course it's room 214. Of course she lied. Of course I followed. And now? Now I had to decide what came next. Because the betrayal? That was real. But the revenge? That was still loading. I didn't go home right away. I drove for hours, windows down, letting the cold night air scrape the heat from my face. The city blurred into silence around me, the kind that only hits when your life starts making too much sense too fast. I wasn't angry, not in the way movies make you think betrayal feels. It was worse. It was cold. Still. Like something inside had quietly died without making a sound. When I finally pulled into the driveway, it was past midnight. Her car was already parked. Right where it always was. As if nothing had changed. As if room 214 didn't exist. The lights in the house were off. Except for the porch light. She always left it on for me. I almost laughed at that. Inside, I walked quietly. She was in bed, curled up, asleep like someone who had spent the evening working hard. I stood in the doorway for a long time, watching her breathe. That same face I used to trace with my fingers now felt like a mask stretched over a stranger. Her phone was charging on the nightstand. Same passcode. Still 1014. Our wedding date. The irony nearly made my teeth crack. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, I went downstairs and pulled out an old cardboard box from the hall closet, the one we used to keep vacation photos in, back when things were real. I dumped it out and filled it with a different kind of memory. I started collecting. Bank statements, hotel charges, little red flags I'd once talked myself out of noticing. The sudden Amazon purchases, lingerie I'd never seen. The weekly Uber receipts from downtown, always with a tip, always after 6 p.m. A loyalty card for a local spa tucked into her wallet, one she swore she never had time for. And, most damning of all, a receipt for dinner at Bella Vista 2 weeks ago. I remember that date well. She had told me she had a migraine and needed to sleep early. Yet there it was. Dinner for two. Wine. Dessert. The full romance package. That night, I built a file. No drama. No confrontation. Just methodical, quiet proof. A digital folder on my laptop called, just in case. And a hard copy binder I kept in my work bag, right under the spare charger and a half-used pack of gum. By Friday, I had enough to make a lawyer weep tears of joy. But this wasn't about courts. Not yet. This was about control. About taking back the script. I needed more than evidence. I needed understanding. So I started watching her. Really watching her. Monday through Sunday. Her habits were like clockwork, because lies require rhythm. You can't fake normal without a routine. That's where most people mess up. They forget how visible patterns become once someone's actually looking. She'd leave at 7:40 a.m. daily. Always with the same work bag. Hair tied or curled, depending on the meeting. On Wednesdays, she wore perfume. Not just any perfume. The one I bought her for our anniversary last year. The one she said was too strong for the office. Yet she wore it for room 214. Funny how scent can betray a person faster than words. One Wednesday, I followed again. This time, I parked even closer. Watched her meet him outside. A man in his 30s. Sharp suit. That smug posture that only exists in guys who think they're the answer to someone else's marriage. They didn't kiss. Too smart for that. But their eyes told the story. She laughed, tilted her head the way she used to with me. He brushed her shoulder like he owned it. I took pictures. Not because I needed them, but because she didn't know I could. That night, she came home exhausted. Rough day, she sighed, kicking off her heels. Still working on the Clark campaign? I asked, watching her carefully. She blinked. Just for a second. Yeah, clients are breathing down our necks. I smiled and nodded. You're incredible, you know that? She kissed me on the cheek. I let her. She went upstairs. And I added Clark campaign to my list of fake things. By week 3, I was done collecting. I knew the patterns. I knew the lies. And now? I had everything I needed. But here's the thing. Revenge isn't just about reaction. It's about timing, precision, making sure the impact lands so clean, so sharp, they don't even bleed until after you've walked away. And that moment? That was coming. Because while Ashley played house by day and fantasy by night, I was building something of my own. Something she couldn't lie her way out of. Something called consequences. If I'd wanted to be messy, I could have sent the photos to her mom. Or her boss. Or printed them out and taped them to her windshield with a note that said, Clark says hi. But that wasn't the game I wanted to play. Ashley wanted to rewrite the rules of our marriage in secret. I decided I'd do the same with a little more style. Step 1. Plant the seeds. Make her think she was still winning. I started small. Compliments. Spontaneous dinner plans. Even started bringing her coffee in bed again. You deserve it, I'd say, smiling like a fool who didn't know she spent her Wednesdays in room 214 with a guy whose name I still didn't know. Ashley lit up at the attention. I could see it. The relief. The guilt. Whatever traces she may have had, started morphing into confidence. She thought she was juggling two worlds perfectly. Thought I was too blind, too busy, too in love. That was her first mistake. Her second? Not noticing I'd swapped her phone charger. The new one had a thumb-sized data tool inside it. Nothing invasive, just enough to mirror her texts to my laptop. It was a little trick I learned from a friend in IT who owed me a favor from back when he rear-ended my truck, and I never filed a claim. Now, I wasn't reading every message. I wasn't obsessed. But I watched just enough to understand how deep the rabbit hole went. His name was Caleb. Of course it was. Of course it was some yoga-doing, crypto-investing, chai-sipping Caleb. The kind of guy who sends shirtless mirror selfies and says things like, you deserve to be worshipped. Gag. Worse, he called her Ash. I hadn't called her that since our 3rd year together when she told me it sounded too much like a campfire. Apparently, now she liked it. Funny how preferences evolve when betrayal's involved. From what I gathered, Caleb didn't know I existed. At least, not as a husband. My ex and I still live together until the lease ends. Ashley had texted him. Cute. Our mortgage said otherwise, but details never did interest her. Now here's where things started getting fun. I made a dinner reservation, high-end place, the kind where the bill stings more than a wasp nest, and everything comes with a smear of aioli. Told her it was for our little restart. I watched her eyes widen with excitement. Guilt, too. I saw it flicker, but she smiled. Of course, she said. I'd love that. I told her I'd meet her there at 7:30. I even left the house early to give her time to get ready in peace. She didn't know I'd doubled back and parked half a block down. Watched through our living room window as she opened her phone. Read the text she sent Caleb. Can't meet tonight. Logan's doing some kind of fancy dinner. Might be getting suspicious. I'll text you after. Good. I wanted her to think I was suspicious, but not smart. That's the most dangerous version of a man. Someone who's underestimated. At 7:25, she walked into the restaurant in a black dress I'd never seen. Not the kind of thing you wear to reconnect with your husband. More like something you'd wear to confirm to a man like Caleb that the view was worth the risk. I greeted her at the table with a smile. Stood up. Even pulled her chair out for her. She laughed nervously. You look amazing, I said. She smiled, surprised. Thanks. You look good too. Sharp. We ordered wine. Shared appetizers. Talked about nothing. Or rather, I let her talk about nothing while I listened like a man hypnotized. She was performing, and I was letting her believe the show was a hit. Halfway through dessert, I reached into my jacket pocket and slid a small black box across the table. Her eyes went wide. Logan, she whispered. What is this? She opened it. It was empty. Just a folded note inside. Handwritten. For words. He'll lie to you. She stared at it. Confused. What does this mean? She asked. I sipped my wine. It means Caleb isn't who you think he is. Her face went pale. I leaned in, keeping my tone gentle. Did you really think I wouldn't find out, Ashley? That I wouldn't notice when my wife disappeared every Wednesday into the arms of someone who sends flexing selfies and misspells beautiful? She said nothing, just blinked. Her hands trembled slightly on the table. You told him I was your ex, told me you were working late. Told yourself it was all okay as long as you kept the lies neat and color-coded. Logan, No, don't apologize. I don't want it. I placed a second note next to her plate. This one was folded like a menu. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside were printed screenshots. Her texts. A photo of room 214. A receipt from Bella Vista. I didn't need to say anything else. She looked up at me with wide, glassy eyes. What are you going to do? I smiled calmly. Nothing tonight. I stood up, straightened my sleeves. But the next time you text Caleb, ask him what it means when someone calls themselves a consultant but never clocks into an actual job. She stared, frozen. I leaned close enough to whisper. Not everyone you lie to is as polite as I've been. And with that, I left the table, my wine half full, my conscience even fuller. The trap had been set. All that was left now was the snap. The thing about betrayal? It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It leaks. It stains. It drips down into places it was never meant to reach. By the time I woke up the morning after the dinner, the house was already quieter than usual. No clinking in the kitchen, no early shower running. Ashley didn't sleep in the bedroom that night. Not that I cared. My side of the bed had felt cold for months anyway. She was in the guest room. Door shut. Probably spent half the night rereading every text she'd ever sent to Caleb, wondering just how much I knew. Short answer? All of it. Long answer? More than she did. See, in the past few weeks, while she played cloak and dagger with her dignity, I'd done some digging of my own. Not just on her, but on Caleb. Turns out, Mr. Smooth wasn't so smooth. No real job. No real address. Just a rented condo under a business alias and a series of sweet-talking stints with women who apparently thought consultant was short for charming parasite. And one of those women, I found her. Her name was Leah. Graphic designer. Divorced. Caleb had swept into her life 3 years ago under the name Colin. Different name, same pattern. Gifts at first. Disappearing money later. He left after 9 months. Took her laptop, 2 credit cards, and left her with a maxed out line of credit and an unpaid lease. So, when I messaged her, she didn't hesitate. Tell me where and when, Leah replied. I've got receipts. Collateral. In every sense of the word. Meanwhile, Ashley was spiraling in slow motion. The guilt hadn't hit her fully yet, but the discomfort had. She didn't know what I was going to do next. That was the power shift. For once, I wasn't the one waiting on her decisions. She was waiting on mine. That morning, she finally spoke. Logan, can we talk? I looked up from my coffee. Sure. She sat down across from me. Same kitchen table we'd eaten breakfast at for 7 years. The same spot she'd once told me she was pregnant. That she'd landed her promotion. That we were solid. Her voice cracked. I know what I did was wrong. Wrong. That's the word she went with. Like she missed a turn on the way to the grocery store. I never meant for it to get this far, she said, eyes darting, avoiding mine. It just happened. Ah, yes. The spiritual cousin of we didn't plan it. Betrayal with a side of passive voice. I let her talk. Let her fill the silence. She did most of the heavy lifting, apologies, excuses, confused metaphors about feeling trapped, like somehow our mortgage had turned into a cage. When she finally paused to breathe, I said, "How long?" Ashley swallowed. "Since February. 7 months. We had gone to a wedding in February. I remember her dancing barefoot at the reception. I thought that night had meant something. Apparently, it was just the layover between secrets." I nodded, slowly. "So, now what?" She looked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what happens next, Ashley? You've made your moves. You've spent your Wednesdays chasing fantasy and your Thursdays deleting messages. So what's your plan now?" She blinked. I don't know." That's when I knew she thought I was still playing defense. I stood, picked up my mug. "You don't have to know. I already do." She flinched. "Logan, please, don't ruin me over this." I turned to her, calm as ice. "Ruin you? You think I'm out for revenge?" She nodded slightly, scared. "No, Ashley," I said, voice low. "I'm not here to ruin you. I'm here to free you." She didn't get it. Not yet. But she would. That afternoon, I made a few quiet calls. Moved a portion of our joint savings into a solo account I'd set up the week before. Transferred the title of my truck into my name only. Froze our shared credit card and requested a new one, solo. All legal. All clean. Just the kind of paperwork a man who's been betrayed puts in place when he's done being someone's plan B. Then came the key move. I scheduled a meeting. Sunday night. Neutral ground. Her, me, and Leah. Ashley didn't know who Leah was. Not until she walked into the cafe and saw her sitting across from me. No yelling. No dramatics. Just two people who had suffered the same scam, drinking coffee like old college friends catching up. Ashley stood frozen for a beat, then sat down slowly, guarded. Leah wasted no time. So she said, placing her phone on the table. "How long has Colin, been selling you the dream?" Ashley looked like a deer that had just been told the headlights were a mirage. Wait. You know him?" Leah leaned forward, her smile cold. "I knew him before he knew you. And I've got all the texts, sweetheart. The stories, the lies. But he told you he was saving up to start a business, right? How much did you lend him?" Ashley was silent. Leah raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, $1? 500? Maybe $2,000? He always shoots low first, then ramps up when you're emotionally invested." Ashley's lips parted, but no words came out. I didn't say anything for a full minute. Just let the weight of it all settle. Then I turned to her and said, "You didn't just cheat, Ash. You got conned. And worse, you thought I was the fool." She broke then. Not loudly. Just a slow collapse inward. Her shoulders sank. Her eyes welled. And for the first time, I saw regret. Not for what she did, but for who she'd picked. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered. I stood up. "Good news is, now you have time to figure it out. Alone." Leah and I walked out together. She gave me a knowing nod. "Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for confirming what I already suspected." Ashley never followed us out. That night, I sat in my truck under the stars, listening to nothing but the engine ticking as it cooled. Collateral? Sure. But I wasn't buried under it. I was standing on it. 3 days later, I changed the locks. There was no dramatic fight. No bags thrown onto the lawn. I left Ashley a note. "Keys don't open doors you've walked out of." I'd given her 72 hours. Enough time to pack what mattered. The rest? She could schedule a pickup with the moving company. I wasn't interested in screaming matches or tear-streaked apologies. Closure isn't always clean. It's just quiet. She texted once. "I can't believe you're doing this." I didn't respond. Because the truth? She had no idea what I was capable of. Not in anger, but in peace. A kind of peace that grows out of finally understanding that the person you once loved doesn't get to keep your home, your trust, or your name. I'd filed for divorce earlier that morning. No fireworks. Just a signature on a document that said, "This part of your life is over." And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. We met one last time. Public place. Neutral ground. Ashley sat across from me, looking like she hadn't slept since the cafe. Her makeup didn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. She was unraveling. I wasn't. I just need to understand, she said, voice low. How did we get here? I stared at her for a moment, then smiled softly. You left a man who would have taken a bullet for you, for a guy who probably uses his mom's Netflix account. She blinked, mouth twitching like she might cry. I made a mistake. No, I said. You made several. And the mistake wasn't Caleb. It was thinking I was blind. It was thinking you were too smart to get caught. She sighed. You don't have to keep punishing me. I'm not, I said. I'm freeing myself from you. She leaned back, arms folded tight. I didn't mean to hurt you. And there it was. The classic refrain. You didn't mean to hurt me, I said, but you just kept doing it anyway. That's the part you don't get. Intent doesn't erase impact. You didn't make a mistake, Ashley. You made a choice. Repeatedly. She said nothing. There was nothing left to say. When I stood up, she didn't follow. And that was the last time I saw my wife. I sold the house. Too many ghosts. Too many rooms that still smelled like lies and lavender. I bought a place on the edge of town. Quiet. Small. No shared closets, no second toothbrush. Just me, a couch I picked out myself, and a coffee machine that makes 2 cups even though I only ever drink one. At first, it was too quiet. Then it was perfect. People ask if I'm dating again. I tell them no, not because I'm bitter, but because I'm healing. I don't want to rush into something just to prove I can still be wanted. I know I can. That's not the point. The point is, next time, I'll love with both eyes open. And I won't mistake loyalty for a blindfold. Caleb tried to text her a week later. Miss you. She didn't respond. Turns out, betrayal burns bridges in both directions. I said I wasn't interested in revenge. That was a lie. Just not the kind of revenge people expect. I didn't ruin her career. Didn't leak the messages. Didn't key her car or shame her online. No, I did something worse. I lived well. I kept my head high. Took my time healing. Rebuilt my life with care, purpose, dignity. I stopped explaining myself to people who didn't deserve explanations. I stopped watering dead plants and calling it gardening. The revenge wasn't fire. It was silence. It was watching her mutual friends slowly drift toward me, not because I asked, but because respect gravitates toward resilience. It was hearing from an old friend, man, you look good. Happier. Like you shook something heavy off. I did. Her name was Ashley. And now? I wake up without wondering where she is. Because I know where I am. And that's all that matters.